Hi everyone, I'm myself Akhila. I'm the user sales engineer here at Bluechip IT. So in today's video, I'll be covering the key things you need to know before setting up a 3CX bridge. If you're working with multiple 3CX systems and need them to communicate within the branches, a 3CX bridge setup is what you needed. In this video, I'll explain what a bridge setup is and why it is important and the key things to know before setting it up. Later in part 2, I'll walk you through the step-by-step process of configuring the bridge setup. But first, let's go over the essentials you need to know before practically setting it up. So let's have a look at what is a bridge setup. A bridge setup is a virtual connection between two PBX systems. It means that both PBX remains separate and act as their own independent systems where they are able to communicate with each other and exchange information without being part of the same system. And when setting up a bridge, there is no specific geographical location for your PBX system. So you will need to define the roles deciding which system will be the master bridge and which will be the slave bridge. So coming to 3.6 tunneling, we use tunnel protocol with port number 5090 by default, and through that we send RTP and SIP information between two systems to secure the connection between them. And this makes it easier for the firewall to allow the traffic to pass through easily. You can connect any two dedicated 3CX systems. They can either be Pro or Enterprise or on-prem to 3CX hosted on cloud, which means both don't need to be on the same license type. For example, you can connect a Pro to an Enterprise system or even systems with different capacities like 4SC to 8SC or 24SC if you need as well. And it doesn't matter if it's a 3 digit or a 5 digit PBX system, as long as the subscription is active and properly set up, they are ready to go. It is very important that both system version and update should be same. So connecting a version 18 update 9 to version 20 update 4 doesn't work. And at the same time, connecting version 20 update 4 to version 20 update 5, still they are not compatible. And if you have a new update, it is always best to make sure both the systems are on the same version and update, as sometimes the new updates may change the functionality of the bridge template. Now coming to the port forwarding for on-premise 3CX system. So here is what you need to know. Let's say if you are using one on-prem and the other one is 3CX hosted cloud PBX for a bridge setup. In this case, if there is no port forwarding setup for on-prem local PBX, you can't use the local on-prem PBX as a master PBX, but you can still set up the local PBX as a slave bridge. That's because the master bridge needs to control the connection, and without port forwarding, the calls cannot be placed and it just won't work. Now, if you do have port forwarding in place, you can choose which PBX will act as the master bridge. So one key thing is, please make sure port forwarding is configured for on-prem PBX in order to set it up as a master bridge or to establish a call between both PBX systems. So coming to virtual extension number, it is a 5 digit number irrespective of PBX digit length. We use virtual extension number for SIP trunks as well. And here the bridge itself is a zip trunk. So when you create the bridge setup, the PBX will assign the virtual extension number in the background. And this extension number should be same on the remote slave bridge as well, because it is usually used as a part of authentication. And besides, the password is randomly generated and you will need to copy paste this password in the slave bridge, as this will be the password bridge will be using to authenticate on the other side. You can also add your own password to it, but please make sure you add the complex password. Now let's take a quick brief setting up a master and slave bridge. The master bridge itself has a dedicated task to authenticate the PBX on the other side connecting to it. It listens to the tunnel port 5090 unless you have changed the port during the 3CX installation. Please make sure you add a nice descriptive name, as you will need to use this under the present screen. In Teams tab, where colleagues or users will be able to see who is active on the other side of the bridge in the remote office. Now coming to the slave bridge, which goes and initiates the register request, so that it goes and authenticates to the master bridge. So once the authentication is success, it will establish a connection between two systems as a two-way communication where they can now call each other between the two PBX systems through the bridge. So once you create a master and slave bridge, you will see the option under the bridge for present settings. The two systems that are connected together do have the capability of exchanging the presence. We can see who is available on the other side. When you are sending the presence of your PBX to the other side, you are sending specific departments. Now, on the receiving side, the PBX will have the capability of defining individual users who can see the presence from the remote side. And you will select the individual users from the department who will be able to see the presence information of the remote PBX system. Now, coming to the BLF, IP phones will not be able to use their BLFs to see the information of other PBX extensions. The BLFs will maintain only their PBX information, but they cannot see the presence of the remote PBX under BLFs. And that wraps up part one of this video. Now that we've covered the key things you need to know about 3CX bridge setup, in part two, I'll show you the step-by-step process of actually setting it up. So stay tuned and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.